Hey everyone, this is Chaslyn from the Upper Skagit Library, and today we're going to be making skeleton candle holders. This is not going to be your typical crafting video because I am not your typical crafter. This is only like the second crafty thing I've ever done, so it's going to be a bit of a hot mess, and we're just going to go with it. So basically what I'm trying to do right now is I'm trying to take this plastic skeleton hand and remove the fingers because I want them to actually be more like you're holding something in the palm of your hand, you know, kind of a loose grip claw thing. But as you can tell, it's not going very well for me. And the reason for that is the plastic is much tougher than my scissors are. So this is going to be very interesting. So you can see that that's not going well. And then we actually get it, or one of them, separated, and it flies across the room. So that's great, that's awesome. At this rate, we're gonna be doing this for probably 10 years. I'm not entirely sure. Oh, but look, maybe I can just get away with doing the thumb, and then I decide, no, that's not good enough. So we're just gonna keep going at it with the scissors and being a little bit dangerous, by the way. Don't try this at home. Like, keep your fingers out of the way of the scissors, please, please, please. Oh, look, I finally realized that I can just snap them off with my hands much easier than using the scissors. So this is great and much faster, and maybe I'll be done by this year with this craft. So next step is to kind of rearrange the fingers in the way that I want them to look, in that kind of like that loose grasp thing. I've got a hot glue gun and I'm unattended, so this is frightening. But it's going to be okay, I think. Spoiler alert, nobody gets burned, and nobody means me. But so we're just kind of hot gluing the tips of the fingers together and like holding it for a couple of seconds just to let it set. And then hopefully not knocking it over, which it would be totally something that I do. But anyway, so here we go, more fingers. We're kind of trying to not make them all perfectly aligned. Like we want them like sort of at similar angles, but we don't want everything to be perfectly even because that's not really how we hold our hands. So we're just gonna keep adding some glue and hoping that it works. And then we're gonna fix the one that we already did because it didn't stay very well. And this is crafting, everyone. We just kind of keep going at it until it actually works, which is fun. And that's, you know, part of the appeal of crafting, I think. I don't know, what do I know? But so here's some progress. We're starting to get a little more of the shape that we want. Getting closer and closer. One of the good tricks, like I said, this is going to be a hot mess of video, so I'm keeping in all of the flubs. But anyway, one of the tricks when you're doing something like this is to keep the pieces that go together when they're not together, if that made sense. So that way when you're putting it back the way you want it, you know what goes where. You know, kind of the same idea as when you're taking apart, you know, something with a toolkit and you want to make sure all the screws match the right pieces. That's kind of what I was trying to do here. So we've got a hand. We're gonna let the hand dry, which is pretty good. And then in the meantime, while that's drying, we're gonna take some black paint and we're gonna take this silver serving tray and we're gonna try to make it look a little bit tarnished. So in the video that I saw where I learned how to do this craft, they actually used black chalk paint and some kind of like sponge situation. I had black acrylic paint and a kind of a paintbrush sponge. So not exactly the same, but we're gonna make do. I did try to water down the acrylic paint with water. Oh no, there's a phone. We're going with it. This is how we do things here. But anyway, so I'm just gonna start dabbing that black paint onto the silver serving tray and just seeing what happens, because I honestly at this point don't know what's going to happen. So we're just gonna paint, paint, paint. And it's a little bit thick, but we're gonna fix that in just a little bit because I'm gonna whip out a paper towel and kind of try to add some texture to it as well, because it's not just color that we're looking for, it's texture. So we're just gonna keep going. We're gonna speed it up a little bit because we don't wanna be here all day. Look at how fast I paint, aren't I amazing? So we're just gonna slowly paint, and we're gonna not rush through this process, especially because we're still waiting for that hand to dry. So have fun, you know, maybe mix a couple of colors together. I just had the black paint, so I wasn't really gonna try that. You could try some browns, maybe some grays, and just see what happens. Don't be afraid to deviate from the instructions because you never know what happens. Later in the video, I'll have a great example of an oops that actually turned out pretty genius, so I can't wait to show that part off, but we're not there yet. We're still painting the silver serving tray. Try saying that 10 times fast, because I'm not really good at it. So we're getting close with the painting here. It's starting to look pretty dark and pretty spooky, kind of like a haunted mansion sort of situation, which is definitely the aesthetic that I'm going for. And we're getting pretty close to that right now. Looks like we're getting pretty close here. I could have sped it up a little bit more in the editing, but I kind of wanted you to see how much effort I put into it because I'm a little bit proud, not gonna lie. Okay, so here comes that paper towel, and we're just gonna dab, 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 and just see if we could take off some of the excess paint and also add a little more texture to it. We'll let a little bit of that silver shine through and call that pretty cool, and then that's going to have to dry. Okay, so there's the not quite finished product, but you can see it's pretty dark, pretty spooky, pretty tarnished. So now it's time to glue the skeleton hand onto the serving tray that is no longer silver. So that's a fun thing to do. The base isn't very wide, so it's a little bit difficult, especially because it's not very flat. So I'm just gonna put a lot of glue, and I mean a lot. And then I'm just gonna hold it there and try to get it to balance. More glue to try to add some stabilization. And just press and hold. This is where the elevator music comes in if I am not too lazy to edit it in. Apologies if I am too lazy. So now we're just gonna let that sit and dry. And in the meantime, I'm gonna take some of that glue and try to add a little bit of texture to the fingers. And in a minute, you'll understand why I wanna add a little bit of texture. But so I'm just gonna try to get it to drip just a little bit, make it a little bit messy, make it stick out a little bit more, fill in some of the knuckles and the joints, and just kind of bide my time as the main hand to tray gluing situation happens. All right, so what we have now is we have a red crayon and a red hair dryer, funnily enough, and I am trying to melt the wax from the red crayon onto the skeleton hand in a way where it drips down the fingers. Now, be careful with your own fingers, your human fingers, not your skeleton fingers. Whoops, we've lost the hand. The glue has come undone. All of our work has been for naught. What a disappointment. Anyway, your own human hands, don't burn them. You know, try not to have the heat so high. You have to have it hot enough that it melts, but you also need to not burn your own hands. So what we're getting here is an unexpected but rather cool splatter effect. And you can't see it quite yet, but because of the direction and the angle I'm holding the hairdryer in, we're actually getting some of that wax crayon splatter all over the back of the tray, which is super cool. It's looking pretty gruesome on the hand and on the towel there, actually, so that's getting pretty fun. As you can tell, I am definitely that kind of person. And so we're just trying to melt some more, go at it from some different angles, try to cover all of the fingers, some of the palm of the hand, and just take our time and let that wax melt, melt, melt. So now we've got a small tea light candle, and it's very light and very small, and so as I'm trying to melt the remnants of my crayon onto the candle itself, it's blowing all over the place. I probably should have found a better solution to that than just whatever this is, But I was super excited to keep working on this craft, so I just kept doing what I was doing. As you can see, I have also re-glued the hand to the tray at this point, which is very important because that is what the end product is supposed to be. And we're just gonna keep melting. We're gonna try to keep the wax out of the electronics of the candle as much as possible. But nobody's perfect, and definitely not me. So we're just gonna keep melting. We want a good layer of wax so that it looks thick. That was pretty easy to do on the skeleton itself, but on the candle it went pretty thin, and it basically just looked like I spilled Kool-Aid on it, which was not at all the desired effect. But as things start drying and layering, it starts to look actually pretty good. So we're just gonna let that dry. We're gonna put that candle right in the palm of the hand, and then ta-da, that's what that kind of looks like. So there's one more step, and after everything is pretty dried, you're going to take a couple of command strips and place them on the back of the serving tray. Look at that pristine silver, very different from the front. And so because things like to fall off of my walls here at the library, I put 3 of those strips, but you can adjust as needed for the grippiness of your own walls. And so we're just gonna put those on there and get really excited to put this on the wall because it looks fabulous, if I do say so myself. I'm not even gonna be humble about that. I'm very excited that I actually completed this craft. Look at that crayon splatter. Is that not hilariously awesome? Yes, this is excellent. I am excited, get hype, all of those good things. And so here I've hung it in my office here at the library, and we're gonna walk past my wall of ivy with my lit candle on my little skeleton candle holder, and I am just delighted, you guys. And I hope you're as delighted as I am, and you join me this Saturday to make your own, because that's what we are doing.